What are the most important 5 minutes of your work week? Welcome here from Grand Rapids, Michigan, where tonight we're going to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of EO here in Western Michigan. I'm excited here to celebrate with them. Saturday, we actually have coming up the 30th anniversary then of EO Detroit. So let me come back to this key question. And I am reporting out an interesting article in Fast Company magazine that reported on some research that's showing just even this last month, 51% of employees are crying on the job. I got to tell you this, AI is really creating a lot of anxiety with employees. They're worried about their jobs, how it's going to replace them, how they're going to get up to speed. All of the news is, of course, not helpful. And so what is that most important 5 minutes? And that is that check-in at the beginning of our weekly meeting agenda. That's where you go around and everybody hopefully is in some kind of a weekly meeting in your organization, even more important for remote workers. And that's where you go around and you share a piece of good news personally and professionally. And this one 5-minute thing accomplishes so much. First, it's a gratefulness kind of exercise where we're looking at really what's good in our organizations and in our own life. It's a chance for you to kind of do a mental health check to see if, hey, if somebody really doesn't sound like they've got good news for a couple weeks in a row, maybe it's a time for you to intervene. It really allows to make sure that good news beget good news, because whatever was the good news last week professionally, hopefully there's going to be good news then that builds on in the following weeks. And the personal good news allows us to achieve the thing that Google's research in Project Aristotle highlighted, which is you want effective teams, two things need to exist underneath psychological safety. And that is first, equal talk time. So hopefully at your weekly meetings, if you guys have something to discuss, that you're making sure that if 2 or 3 people have been talking for 15 minutes, that you stop and say, hey, we haven't heard from the 2 or 3 of the other of you. In fact, interesting with Zoom, after a Zoom meeting, you can push a button and actually find out how much did everybody talk. I think it's an important Moneyball stat. And second, they said, do we have this average social sensitivity? Now, what that technically meant is we know more about each other than just business. And that was really something the pandemic was good for. It allowed us to kind of peer into each other's personal lives. And I think it brought us in some way closer. And what this sharing of good news personally does is make sure that I know that my CEO, Daniel Marcos, who I was with this week in our summit in Mexico, I know that his daughter's going to NC State. And when I saw that NC State was going to be in the NCAA playoffs in basketball, I was able to send him a note and say, hey, it's got to be exciting for you and your daughter particularly. I met his young son again recently, and Daniel's been bragging on him about what a good trombone player he's become locally. And I was able then to share that with his son, and Daniel's behind me giving me a thumbs up. That way his son knows that he's talking about him as part of our council meeting. And so with, I think, all the pressure that our teams are on, the importance of us being grateful for the importance of good news, begetting good news, and this importance of remaining connected to each other at a personal level. The most important 5 minutes, if you do nothing else, is take that time at the beginning of your weekly meeting. You don't do it daily, but at the weekly meeting, and share that both personally and professionally. I'm Verne Harnish, author of Scaling Up and Start to Scale, Keep Scaling.